Hey everyone, today we're going to be continuing the Omega Blade with Chapter 11. 14-year-old Val and Kaylee stood across the training room from each other. They each had a wooden sword, and a wooden shield lay strapped side up on the floor halfway between them. When their instructor gave the signal, they broke into a run. Val reached the middle first and snatched the shield, then backed away to get it on his arm for the fight. Erin felt a newfound sense of clarity as she and the others mounted their horses the next day. On their way out, a gray-skinned drow woman caught Larric's eye, but she simply gave him a respectful nod as he passed her. At Larric's insistence, Nefrius had donned studded leather armor. After leaving Goldhaven, they rode northeast into a forest, following the road until they saw a cobblestone path that led to the right. They had been following the path for nearly an hour when they spotted an artificial structure in the distance. As they got closer, they saw that it was a set of ancient ruins. "This must be it," Larric said. "To my knowledge, there's no record of any ruins within 110 miles of here." The trail they were on led directly to the doorway, which had several vines hanging in front of it. The ruins were built on a cobblestone base, but the walls were made of a smoother stone. The primary structure was rectangular, with what appeared to be a pyramid protruding from the center of the roof, and a pillar of some kind in each corner. Despite more than half of the outer surface being covered by moss and other plant life, there wasn't a single bug to be found. "If the Omega Blade does have a mind of its own, it's got a good eye for design," Lux remarked. Nefrius nodded in agreement. "The vines over the entrance are a nice touch." The five of them dismounted their horses and tied them to nearby trees. As soon as Val stepped inside, a dozen torches that were mounted on the walls ignited spontaneously. The light revealed a large stone basin filled with water on the right wall and several wicker baskets filled with various fruits along the left wall. A hole in the middle of the room contained a set of stairs leading to a lower level. "I think that translates to, 'Welcome, enter at your own risk,'" Val said as they looked around. Erin chuckled. After topping off their canteens and eating a bit, they carefully made their way down the stairs with Val in the lead. They walked out into a room that had 5 doors on the far wall. Lying in the middle of the room was a 10-foot-long sphinx that appeared to be asleep. 5 feet past the door, the floor had changed from stone to sand, and 5 feet before the far wall, it changed back into stone. Lux was the first to step out into the sand, and when she did, writing appeared above the doors on the far wall in Boreatica.
Για να κρατήσεις αυτή τη λεπίδα, πρέπει να έχεις σοφία. Απάντησε τους βρύθους για να προχωρήσεις.
"What does it say?" Erin asked. "To wield this blade, you must be wise," Lux translated. "Answer the riddles correctly to move forward." "I wonder why it's in Boreatica," Larric said. Val stepped into the sand, and the words changed from Boreatica to Common. "It must change to a language everyone understands," he remarked. Once all 5 of them had stepped onto the sand, the Sphinx opened its eyes and sat up. "5 riddles for 5 people," it said in an androgynous voice. "Each of you must answer one and only one. If you have stumbled across this place by mistake, this is your last chance to leave the way you came in." "Thank you, but we'd like the first riddle," Val said. "Very well." The Sphinx growled, and a stone slab rose up from the ground and blocked the door. "Whoever makes it doesn't tell. Whoever takes it doesn't know. Whoever knows it doesn't want. What is it?" "Counterfeit money," Larric answered after a moment of silence. "Correct," the Sphinx said as the first door opened behind it. "If 2 is a company and 3 is a crowd, what are 4 and 5? The 5 of them gave each other confused looks. "I've never heard that one." Larric opened his mouth to agree, but no sound came out. Val rubbed his head. "Fuck." "9," Nefrius blurted out. The Sphinx smiled. "Very good." The second door opened. "What can fill an entire room, but takes up no space?" Val closed his eyes to think. "Light," Erin said a moment later. "Indeed." The third door opened. "The person who made it doesn't need it. The person who bought it doesn't want it. The person who needs it doesn't know it. What is it?" Val and Lux had a brief discussion. "A coffin," Lux answered. The Sphinx nodded, and the fourth door opened. "You cannot see me, hear me, or touch me," it said, looking at Val. "I lie behind the stars and alter what is real. Close your eyes, and I come near. It is not me, but what I may hide that you really fear. What am I?" Val's eyes widened. "You really saved the best for last, didn't you?" The Sphinx chuckled. "Indeed I did." "Then you probably should have tried a little harder," he said, grinning. You're the dark. Indeed I am. The last door opened, and each of them walked through one. Erin's weapons and armor inexplicably vanished as she walked out into a large room with a tile pattern on the stone floor. A quick count told her that the tiles were arranged in a 20 by 20 square. The part of the floor she was standing on and its counterpart on the far side were the only parts not divided into tiles. Looking around, she saw that each of the four walls had a line of small holes. Their height above the ground varied, but each one was directly over a row of tiles. She also saw a message on the wall to her left, written in Aquan. To wield this blade, you must be quick on your feet. Make it across the room alive. Once she had finished reading it, more Aquan appeared below it. There are 400 tiles between you and the door. 300 are safe. 25 are easily breakable. 25 will damage the path ahead. 25 will get you shot. 25 will help you navigate. If you take too long, the whole floor will fall away, and you will burn. The 30 was blue, the first 25 was yellow, the second was orange, the third was red, and the fourth was green. Alrighty then, Erin mumbled. Starting in the front of the middle two rows, she stepped out onto the tile in front of her right foot. There was a low rumbling, then the tile directly in front of her suddenly broke and fell. A tile in the fifth row followed suit a moment later. Leaning forward, she saw a lava pit at least 50 feet below her, and her eyes widened. Well, fuck. She stepped on the tile to her left, and her tile and the four remaining tiles surrounding it began to glow. Hers was green, the one to her right was orange, and the others were blue. Remembering the writing on the wall, she looked to her left only to find it gone. Damn it, she muttered. She stepped onto the next tile, verifying that blue was safe. She put her foot on the next tile ahead, but it cracked and broke as soon as she put a decent amount of weight on it. A frightened shriek escaped her mouth as she felt herself starting to fall. Acting on instinct, she used her right foot to kick the safe tile behind her, launching herself just hard enough to get her torso on top of the next tile ahead. Her weight triggered it, and as her legs hung down into the hole, her tile began to glow green. Most of the others surrounding it began to glow blue, but the one ahead and to the right lit up red. As she pulled herself up, she heard a low rumbling behind her. When she was back on her feet, she turned and saw that the entire first row was gone. Thanks for the warning, she mumbled. Erin stepped onto the next tile, careful to avoid the one next to it. When she took another step, there was a low rumbling, and the two tiles directly in front of her crumbled and fell. She moved one tile to the left, then one ahead. When she took another step, the one directly in front of her fell, followed by the one to its right. Hearing more rumbling, she glanced back and saw the second row falling away. She moved one left and one ahead, only to be shot in the right upper arm by a dart from a hole in the wall. Yelling in pain, she resisted the urge to pull it out, instead simply breaking it as she kept moving. The next tile was the 10th row, and when she stepped onto the one after that, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rows all crumbled and fell. You gotta be fucking kidding! She stepped onto the next tile, and 3 tiles ahead of her crumbled and fell. One 3 rows ahead, one on the far right end of the penultimate row, and one in the last row. She took another step, and a dart was fired into her left thigh. The leg gave, and she collapsed on the tile to her left. A dart was fired over her from behind, and a moment later there was a low rumbling as the 6th row fell. The 11th row had collapsed by the time Erin managed to get to her feet and broke the second dart, leaving only the row behind hers. She kept moving forward, favoring her right leg, and she managed to make it 3 rows ahead to the 16th row before the 12th collapsed. The tile under her and the one in front and to the right of it glowed green. The one to her left glowed yellow, and the others around it glowed blue. The 13th row crumbled and fell behind her as she moved ahead and to the right. The tile glowed green, the one to the right glowed red, the one in front of it glowed orange, and the front right and front left tiles glowed yellow. The 14th row fell as she moved to the left, and when she reached the 3rd tile, the 3 in front of it crumbled and fell, the last of which was in the final row. She took another step to the left, and the tile glowed green. The one she had moved from glowed orange, the ones in front of her and to her left glowed yellow, and the back left one turned red. The 15th row crumbled as Erin moved to the right. When she reached the red tile, she jumped over it, only to fumble the landing and fall. After taking a moment to yell in frustration, she began rolling to her left. Her feet hit a tile in the 18th row that caused the 2 in front of it and the one more in the last row to fall. She kept rolling, and just as she reached the last row, the tile under her torso crumbled and fell. A panicked shriek escaped her lips just as the 16th row fell. Erin suddenly found herself staring down at lava with her torso and feet completely unsupported, leaving only her hands and legs holding her up. Taking a deep breath, she pulled herself up and rolled onto the tileless part of the floor, just as the 17th row crumbled. She stepped into a much smaller room that had 5 large stone tubs filled with what appeared to be water. Lux and Lyric were each soaking in one, both lacking their weapons and armor. "It's some kind of healing fluid," Lux explained. "Just make sure you pull the darts out before you get in." Erin followed Lux's advice, then let out a sigh of relief as she lowered herself into one of the empty tubs. "So, what was your challenge?" she asked. "A grid of tiles over lava," Lyric replied. "Same here," Lux said. "Mine was 25 by 16. "Mine was 20 by 20. Lyric perked up. "Hey, same." Erin had just gotten settled when Val stumbled in with one dart in his left arm and another in his back. He was followed shortly by Nephrius, who had a single dart in his left calf. They removed their darts and got into the empty tubs, letting out sighs of relief as their wounds started closing. "So, what size were your grids?" Lux asked. 40 by 10, Nephrius replied. Val chuckled. "Same, but mine was 40 wide." So ends chapter 11. Hope you've enjoyed it. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.